If you had to take a guess of what DLC character was going to shock the world at a Japanese super major, who would you pick? Steve, Pyramithra, perhaps even Joker, Sephiroth? I mean, those are all pretty fine guesses. Well, to start yet another calendar year of Smash Ultimate, we saw a conglomeration of the world's finest characters come together to try to claim the title of an international super major at Umebura SP10. You would think with this level of competition, it would be one of the top level players wielding one of the game's strongest characters that would take the show at this event and be the talk of the town. But one player seemed to catch the attention of the world despite not even making it to top 8. This player has managed to take a character that was written off as exclusively an unviable tournament character, solely an online gimmick, to levels never before thought possible. As one of the most anticipated DLC characters ever, with talks of his potential addition going all the way back to Melee, it's safe to say that Banjo-Kazooie was an incredibly popular pick for Smash Ultimate. Well, at least for the American audience. The release of the first Fighters Pass seemed like an attempt from Sakurai to show some love to major international communities. The Japanese audience received Hero from Dragon Quest, the United States audience got Banjo and Kazooie, Latin America got Terry from King of Fighters, and the Weebs got Joker and Byleth. As for Europe, you guys got Bayonetta into Smash 4, so I'ma just cut you off right there. Unlike many of the DLC releases prior to and post Banjo though, the character was just extremely underwhelming. For some stats, he's tied for number 19 in weight, number 12 in ground speed, and he's around the middle of the pack in terms of frame data, coupled with some of the worst air drift in the cast. Alright, there's gotta be a silver lining here. I guess he was given high potency moves like Wonder Wing, which beats out every option other than grabbing or evading it, and his grenade, which is a key piece to the game plan, but his options overall were just kind of bad. He didn't have a true get off me option, was equipped with a bare bones punish game, and while he had an X factor with his kill power, it felt as if his neutral was generally lacking against a player that understood the character. In a game that rewarded characters with fast, oppressive buttons, at least early in the meta, Banjo just didn't seem to fit. This meant that Banjo players tended to play a zoning style rather than faster paced game plans that some of his contemporaries like Joker or Terry were capable of. And it turns out that this style was extremely strong online, where Banjo gained a reputation as an elite Smash menace. But unlike the release of nearly every other DLC character where we saw immediate success from at least one player that was able to push them farther than anyone would have expected, Banjo just didn't. Wait a second, Tweek top 8 at a major with this guy? How? Banjo is so bad. Yup, just 10 days after release, Tweek managed to top 8 Glitch 7, through the winner's side might I add, with a mix of Pokemon Trainer and a healthy dose of Banjo. This included a win over Dark Wizzy, who was fighting for a top 10 spot at that point, finishing his run at 5th place and marking the first time Banjo had ever got top 8 at a major. Alright, so that's it, wrap it up, video over. People didn't give up on this character and he got top 8 at a major. Woo! What really happened was that was just 10 days after the character's release, and Tweek still used a lot of Pokemon Trainer, including many sets of solely PT. Tweek was also a player that was just fundamentally good at Smash. In the first few years of Ultimate, we saw him constantly swap characters, seeking success with practically every one of them. If Banjo did have potential, Tweek would be the one to show it, but Tweek went into the online era looking to explore more characters other than Banjo, and after this event, we saw the bear go MIA. Even during this period of exclusive online play, we only ever saw one player make it onto the Wi-Fi Warrior ranking with Banjo, and even then it was only listed as a secondary. This was from top Bowser player Leon. Bit of a tangent, but something similar did happen when Sora was released too. Zach Ray, the other player who's very notorious for being a master of a multitude of characters, won KOWLOON 5 just 2 weeks after Sora's release. This is still arguably Sora's peak result, by the way, and we never saw him use the character again. Sometimes in Smash, people just haven't figured out a character yet, and in turn can see success early on, but as counterplay develops, these characters fade out. Sora had seemingly infinite potential and continued to grow, but early innovators of Banjo like Tweek and Leon dropped the character early on in favor of other options. Whether it was a story of potential or situation, if you had a player of that caliber give up on the character, was there really ever a point to continue trying to push them? This was the mindset of many early adopters for Banjo, resulting in his presence in the offline tournament scene falling off drastically. But with all of that being said though, all that it would take was a couple of years and a cracked Japanese player to invest in the character for all of these stigmas to change. And on January 8th, 2022, we finally saw Toriguri make their first offline appearance. Toriguri started off as an exclusive online player, as many have in Smash Ultimate. He had entered these online brackets for nearly a year before he finally took his talents offline to KOWLOON number 6. But he placed so exceptionally well at a lot of these online events that he had an incredible resume, and this included a peak of number 3 on the prolific Smashmate online ladder, all with solo Banjo. Because of his results in these online events, Toriguri received a reputation as an online warrior. The aforementioned KOWLOON 6 was his first introduction to offline competition, at least at the major level, and he performed quite well. As the 125th seed, he went on to get 97th, losing to a pair of top 100 competitors in Passiriman and Atelier. Toriguri followed this up with a couple more 97ths at Kaguribi 7 and Meisuma top 8 to lead up to his first single-digit offline placement in July of 2022, a 9th at Seibugeki number 11. This included a pair of wins against Hyrule's finest in T and AIM. With this, Toriguri put himself onto the scene as not just a threat on Smashmate, but a legitimate contender as one of the strongest players in the country, and he was also in contention for best banjo in the world of the, 3 players that played banjo. But little did we know, TG was just getting started. 2023 started with a collection of 49ths and 65ths that congregated together to bring his next best result, a 3rd out of 192 at Delta 3. This included wins over Gachipi, Takara, and Futari. I ain't saying all the rest of that, but they had an interesting collection of characters, and these were extremely impressive wins. To 99% of players outside of Japan, Meisuma Top 12 was the first time they had ever heard of Toriguri, who had made a breakout run at this tournament. At a maxed out 512 player bracket, the S+ tier event was stacked to the brim with not only Japan's finest, but many of the United States' best players who were on an overseas expedition. Toriguri's run included wins over Japanese online legend Ron and the 2 best Peach players in the world, Mutes and Umeki. This spectacular run ended at 9th, marking far and away his best performance of all time up until that point and near a top 8 at a super major. With banjo, might I add. This was literally the character's best performance since Tweek's run at Glitch 7 all the way back in 2019. Meisuma Top 12, by the way, was still in the first half of 2023, around the end of April, and since then TG has accumulated a ton of wins over players like Proto Banham, Senra, Hero, Sasisuro, Rimu, Motsunabe, Chicken, Taikei, Gak, Doramigi, Atelier, Kome, and Jogibu. And yes, you read that right. This banjo has multiple top 100 wins, being ranked in the 81 to 90 range on the mid-year Lumi rank himself, and has overcome matchups like Min Min and Sonic. But you need to pick up a +2 matchup to beat your local DDD player, right? Sorry, that was a call out, but accompanying a majority of these wins are at the lowest top 32 placements at some of the deepest events talent-wise in the world. He's even won 2 tournaments with more than one other top 100 player in attendance this period, Wave Championship number 4 and Ikebukuro number 1. All of that being said, TG had yet to put it all together at one of Japan's most prestigious events, Kaguribi or Umebura SP. It wasn't uncommon for these events to bring in over 700 entrants, and since the boom of Japanese Smash in 2023, that number now hits over 1,000 consistently, which also includes a wide array of international prospects. Now an established competitor, TG was going to have to prove that his banjo was more than just a matchup check, and that he really was that strong of a player. That chance would finally come for the banjo at Umebura SP10. This event saw its over 3-year-long hiatus put to an end in 2023, as it shattered not only attendee records, but also ushered in a new generation of top-level Smash Ultimate. To say that the 10th iteration of the event was going to be legendary was an understatement. It included practically all of Japan's top players, the trio of top French competitors in Gluttony, Raflo, and Neitoru, and top NA talent like Zomba, Apollo Kage, Ouch, and more. Coming in as the 37th seed at an event this top-heavy as a solo banjo player is already impressive enough, but Toriguri wasn't content with the projected 33rd. He had his sights set much higher. Toriguri started the event with a strong showing at round 1 of pools, winning a total of 3 sets over James, Kasumi, and Az to earn himself a spot in top 384. He was taken to the brink of defeat back-to-back in the next phase of bracket though, with both #OKPG and Rocky, a KOWLOON and Isabel main respectively, taking TG to a game 5. Now 5 wins into the bracket, Toriguri was in a top 48 winner side qualifier against one of the strongest players he had the chance to fight offline yet, Zomba. TG likely had more experience against Rob than Zomba against Banjo, especially considering his 3-2 victory against Sasusuro at Meisuma Top 14, but with a beacon of consistency like Rob, you would expect a player of Zomba's caliber to be able to clean this one up. And holy shit, it really looked like TG had something against American players here, because he did not hold back at all against Zomba. His impeccable control of the grenade and ledge trapping was perhaps the biggest takeaway from this set. Zomba did manage to take a game 1 victory, but nevertheless, TG's incredible play brought him right back, going up over Zomba with a dominant 2-1. TG's ability to keep Rob in the air consistently paid dividends for him. He used every tool in Banjo's kit against Zomba, using a combination of disjointed tilts and projectile special moves to maintain space and keep Zomba at a range he was comfortable to fight against. In Game 4, we saw TG down a pretty significant amount against the Rob, but he fought his way back stock by stock, hit by hit, and he displayed an incredible amount of not just patience, but also precision, dissecting Rob like a surgeon, eventually getting Zomba to a killable percentage. Once again on the ledge, Judge TG read a jump and up-tilted Zomba straight into the losers bracket with a glorious 3-1 victory. Now, depending on who you ask, this was TG's biggest win of all time and a true legacy-defining moment for Banjo players. He had already passed the heights Tweek had reached previously, but to be able to defeat a player of Zomba's caliber with Banjo of all characters was an unbelievable event. TG fell to Ken Sonic in round 1 of top 48, which was a respectable loss, but now he faced the unfortunate reality of attempting to make a losers bracket run at a Japanese major, which is never an easy ask. He didn't disappoint though, 3-1ing Snow's Mario to secure his spot in top 16. While his run was amazing up until that point, it had to come to an end, and in the following round, TG fell to one of Japan's finest, Yoshidora, 3-0, and he completed his bracket run at 13th place out of over 1,200 entrants, continuing to almost single-handedly carry the Banjo meta on his back. Now, okay, normally we would end the video right there, but TG actually went on an almost equally impressive run the following weekend at KOWLOON number 9, another Japanese major that had almost 900 attendees. It was here that we saw the 27th-seeded Toriguri fall early on to top Japanese joker Gorioka far earlier in the bracket than anticipated, setting up Toriguri for a huge losers run. He was yet again tasked with fighting Rocky, which ended in a 3-1 this time around, and then he clocked in another 3-1 over Luigi Main Navy to finally enter his top 32 qualifier. And this one was yet another Umebura rematch for TG, and unfortunately not an opponent he defeated last time, Yoshidora. Their matchup in the weekend prior was the two's first encounter, and with how it played out last weekend, it seemed like Yoshidora was just simply too good for TG to contest with, and once again he fell to— wait, what? Hang on, what? He beat him 3-1? After a week? What? This dude is insane, man. He is playing Banjo. But this was followed with a 3-2 win over top Inkling Shirayuki before eventually being slain by the world's best Ryu, Ashimo, in a 3-1 and concluding his run at 17th place. Ashimo did end up going on a 5-set losers run in the process, finishing at 3rd place, so you can't really be too upset about that because you're playing Banjo. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm done. That's no more Banjo jokes. That concluded back-to-back weekends of Toriguri showing out at super major events with solo Banjo, in the process beating 2 top 15 players in the world along with other top 100 level wins. I hope this tale of Toriguri taught you all at least one thing, that Banjo is really bad. I told you I was done, I'm sorry. It really doesn't matter what character you use. If you put in the time and dedication and are truly good enough, you can achieve anything in Smash, and that's the beauty of the game. I really don't think anyone had faith in Banjo, and if you couldn't tell from my VO, I definitely didn't going into 2024, but TG was yet another player that took a character everyone had given up on and written off and gave them new life and results stronger than anyone would have ever anticipated, especially with the current meta we're in. And that's just really awesome. Hey, thank you so much for watching, and if you're not subscribed already, what are you doing? Go! Press it now!